The real reason why Danielle left American Pickers. If you find American Pickers addicting, you're not the only one. Fortunately, there are others who can make money off selling long-forgotten objects. However, have you ever stopped to think that maybe everything they find is just a stroke of luck? If you want to know all the secrets from American Pickers that the cast and crew would rather keep hush-hush, keep watching for more details. Frank has a dark side. If you've ever questioned why Mike is taking the wheel more frequently, then this is for you. Frank was on the verge of jail time after being arrested for a DUI in 2017. If you're shocked that Mike would continue to let him drive given his previous record, Nikki Swift informs us that it has something to do with numerous calls made to Iowa State Police about Frank's pickup truck driving down the interstate on the wrong side of the road. Mike and Frank aren't as close as they appear. Although Mike Wolf and Frank Fritz seem like they get along well on the show, some fans are speculating that their relationship is not as friendly as it appears. We hope this isn't true. They seem like they'd be really fun to have a beer with. Pricey items may be planted by producers. According to Mike and Frank, they appear to have a gift for recognizing amazing things, items that the vast majority of us would overlook. And on rare occasions, these objects sell for ridiculous sums. They're fortunate. There's talk going around that some of the things on the show are staged, however. So how real is what we see on television? Frank isn't as experienced as Mike. Some viewers believe that Frank and Mike have developed a friendship with each other, although others aren't so sure they're real pals. The pals perform well together on the show, but if reports are true, their relationship is only for the cameras. We hope their companionship is genuine. Scenes are reshot repeatedly. According to Rob Dinkins, a South Carolina auctioneer, conversations in American Pickers often sound rehearsed because they are. The participants are supposedly required to repeat what they've said for the sake of editors, much like many other reality shows do. Hobo Jack isn't a hobo at all. Hobo Jack is a popular character on the show, having been seen on several instances. However, it appears that the individual in question may not be as cut off from society as he would have you believe. According to Screen Rant, Hobo Jack has published numerous books and released 5 full-length albums throughout his career. Hobo Jack even has his own official website where you can buy music from the reality star. Mike handpicked Danielle for the show. Danielle began appearing on the show in 2004 as a writer. Mike sought her out because she didn't appear to be your typical antique dealer. I wanted someone who didn't seem like they'd work in an antique store since I wanted our show to be viewed differently, he said to a Q&A session in 2010. People should think about antiques as though they're cool, they're amazing, and so on, he added. A few celebrities have made appearances. Over the years, several celebrities have had cameos on American Pickers. These include Jack White of the White Stripes and Raconteurs fame, as well as Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys. However, Dolly Parton is perhaps the show's most famous lover, according to reports who contacted producers herself to suggest a cameo on screen. Pickers has gone international. Although American is in the title, that hasn't stopped foreigners from loving it. The show airs in plenty of places outside the US, including but not limited to the United Kingdom, Israel, Romania, and Spain. Some countries tried to make their own spin-offs of the show. For example, Australia and Canada made versions that were supposed to be more relatable for those regions. However, these cheaper alternatives didn't quite have the same draw as the original did. They only lasted 2 or 4 seasons before getting canceled. History didn't want Danielle at first. Would the peddlers be the same without Danielle? It wouldn't be the same. And it's all the more of a shock to discover that history had to be persuaded to hire her. Yet it appears that top executives weren't sold on the vibrant star and only wanted Mike and Frank on the show. Boys, on the other hand, demanded that Danielle join their team, and they were firm in their convictions. Frank is successful outside of the show. Even if he hadn't landed American Pickers, Frank would still be doing well for himself. His keen eye for vintage finds, especially cars, and flipping them for a high price have allowed him to make a good living. In fact, he's even opened his own store, Frank Fritz Finds. A number of names were on the table for the show. The name American Pickers was not the first or even the second choice for the show's title. In fact, some of the original options were quite terrible. According to one proposal, Mike, Frank, and Danielle would be known as the American Picking Crew. Flip This Junk and Mr. Picker were also said to have been possibilities. Mike started filming the show on his own. Although we can't picture American Pickers without Danielle, Frank isn't nearly as necessary. Before coming to the realization that there was a lack of chemistry between them, Mike had already started making the program on his own. He just needed someone dependable by his side, and he hit the jackpot when he found Frank again later in life. They'd known each other since childhood, after all, so their relationship was ready-made. Mike's picking skills come from his impoverished upbringing. Mike grew up in a single-parent family and credits his bargaining abilities for not having much as a youngster. That meant he was learning how to negotiate from an early age, which has helped him greatly later in life. When you consider the situation, money was tight back then, but Mike doesn't have to worry about money anymore. Mike sold the show without making a pilot. Although most TV shows require a plot in order to be picked up by a network, American Pickers was an outlier. Mike convinced history that his series deserved a chance without making a pilot beforehand, and it ended up being the only show that the network has ever launched without doing one. The stars don't actually work at the store. Are you looking for some antique treasure? You'd be wise to know about it before leaving disappointed. In general, you're unlikely to come across any of the American Pickers cast while antiquing. Mike, Frank, and Danielle have grown in popularity since they began doing nothing because they leave with nothing. Mike has a thing for old phones. Mike told Country Living in 2016 that not all antiques are equal to him, especially ancient phones. In fact, he likes old phones so much that he has a vintage-style booth in his house for them. But even with this collection, Mike is never satisfied and is always hunting for the ideal phone. Frank has Crohn's disease. Over the years, Frank's appearance has altered considerably. He's lost a lot of weight, to be honest. However, in 2013, reality TV star Frank announced that he was dealing with some medical issues. "I have an illness called Crohn's disease, which at times is difficult to deal with," he stated on Facebook. Fortunately, he was still healthy. He also said that by eating healthier and exercising regularly, he had started losing weight and ran with it. Mike used picking to woo his wife. Long before he became famous, Mike met his wife, Jody Faith, in 1994. Even back then, picking played a key role in their romance. In 2011, Jody told the New York Times that when she met Mike, he used to disguise pics as dates. He'd say, "We're going to Wisconsin to a bed and breakfast. We were really going to Wisconsin to meet Speedo Joe." Danielle wasn't convinced she was right for the show. When it came to selecting a female picker for the American Pickers crew, Mike was adamant about one thing, that Danielle was the greatest woman for the job. She said, "Are you guys out of your minds?" when I asked her to do it. Mike revealed at a 2010 Q&A session. Despite Danielle's reservations, she ultimately agreed to join the team, and it worked out incredibly well, Mike added. Danielle is a history buff deep down. Her interest in history and her heritage inspired her to pursue a career as an antique dealer. Her website adds that her work on American Pickers is reflective of her genuine love for history. He continued, "The beauty of historical things lies in their narrative. Without a backstory, they're meaningless." Danielle's aim is to show both sides of history so that people may take ownership of it. Mike became a dad late in life. Mike and Jody had their first child, Charlie, in 2012. On Father's Day 2020, Mike took to Instagram to write about how great it is being a dad at an older age. Every moment is special with her, and he can't believe how fast time seems to be going by. Picking isn't Mike's main income stream. Though he's quite skilled in picking, that's not how Mike makes most of his money. According to Fast Company, in 2012, Mike was virtually a clothing merchant while also being a real estate investor. On top of that, he restored an old automobile factory in Nashville that now houses businesses such as a craft beer brewery, photo studios, and a boutique candy store. Frank won't let fame change him. In 2016, he told the Columbus Dispatch, "After the show's wrapping up, I'll go back to living as Frank in my city. I'm not ostentatious. I don't have a huge house or a luxury car. In fact, I've been driving the same '86 Ford Ranger for 26 years and still live in the same house." Mike supports a cause close to his heart. Mike's daughter, Charlie, was born with a cleft lip and palate. To help other children in need who were born with defects such as this one, Mike commissioned Isabel Bloom to create statues of his little girl. By doing so, he raised money for Operation Smile, an organization which provides corrective surgery to children worldwide. Why would Danielle leave the show? For one thing, it's apparent that Danielle never intended to stay on the show for long. When asked if she'd ever return to antique archaeology, she quipped, "One can never tell what the future may hold. However, I highly doubt that antique archaeology is my last job I'll have in my life. It is, however, without a doubt, the coolest job I've had up till now. It all depends on when my time there has come to an end." Additionally, many believe that Danielle may be getting a spin-off of her own. In that same interview, Danielle said, "I have an obligation to Mike, who put me in the position I'm in right now, and I'll respect that till the end. My plan is to just stick around and see what happens. But I have a contract, and of course I'll honor that contract." I guess that's a sugar-coated way of saying I'd love a spin-off. The network hasn't announced a spin-off focused on Danielle, but it would be a possibility. After all, Danielle is well-liked, and she's also got enough personality to carry a show on her own. Even if a spin-off isn't an option, Danielle may have chosen to leave the show for personal reasons. She's married and may have decided she wanted to focus on her family more. Although she clearly loves her work, everyone needs a vacation from time to time, and she might want to pursue other interests. Regardless of the cause, Danielle will be sorely missed.